If the conflict escalates, who does it benefit?
There is one entity that does benefit, and that is China. Look, right now there's this trade and tariff war going on between the Chinese and the US. It's been initiated by President Trump, 145% tariffs, which has essentially effectively decoupled the two economies. China was the major exporter to the US. Now they are not, exporting almost nothing. And they are being denied Western technology, which may be a little bit too late, but whatever. So the US has not only dumped a whole bunch of tariffs on the Chinese, but they have started a trade war with their own allies. So it makes the US look like an unpredictable and slightly crazy nation. And the Chinese look mature and stable in comparison. If Trump had not imposed tariffs on his allies, it would have been a whole different situation. But because he has done it to his own allies, that's why the Chinese seem to have the upper hand in that matter. So if this situation escalates, then it's good for China, because then their major rival or competitor within the Asian sphere kind of, things don't look very, very good for it. It looks unstable, and investors will be wary of investing in India in that situation if the situation prolongs. So the only entity that really benefits is China in this situation. The Chinese have been trying to de-escalate things with India. There was this terrible clash in 2020 or something, the Galwan clash. 20 Indian soldiers died and many more Chinese died, but the Chinese never released the actual figures. And then there was this standoff between India and China along the undemarcated India-Tibet border that persisted for years. Now, last year, the Chinese began the process of let's say, de-escalating. The escalation was done by them. The de-escalation was also initiated by them. So now the two sides have kind of stood down to a certain extent. But at the same time, the Chinese are actually strengthening their positions militarily on their side of the India-Tibet border. So the Chinese have been making sounds and noises like they want to de-escalate with India and they want to kind of rapprochement with India. But I think that phase is gone now. I think we may be past that now. Now, after the Indian strikes on Pakistan 15 hours ago, the Chinese strongly condemned India's actions, even though these actions are in our national interest and we are not attacking any civilians. So I think we're going to see a new China-Pakistan axis kind of phase, and the India-China friendship, which may have possibly happened, I think that's passé now.
What does it mean for America?
What it means for America is that China gets what they have rejected. So the Americans seem to have washed their hands of Pakistan, which is why Pakistani leaders have been saying openly that they have been doing terrorism for the Americans. So that only happens when your master has served you with divorce papers. So China now gets a new proxy, just like North Korea. They'll get another nation like Pakistan, and Pakistan will somehow be integrated into their plans. The Americans would want India to be stable. India is a major component of their Indo-Pacific strategy. They want to isolate China. The US wants to isolate China. And if you want to isolate China, you need to prop somebody up who could become a counterweight. Now, India doesn't want to be used in that way, but sometimes you have no choice when you have a neighbor like China right next door. So we will have to play a certain kind of game, a kind of balancing game. But if India gets embroiled in a war-like situation which persists with Pakistan over months or years, then it is bad for India, it's bad for the Indian economy, and by extension, it's bad for the Western economy and the US economy. The US would want Apple and whatever other Microsoft, Nvidia, etc., whoever it is, to set up manufacturing in India to replace what they have in China. But if India is unstable, then it's not going to happen, and it's going to be bad for their economy as well. So from the US perspective, they would want the situation to stabilize as soon as possible. And that obviously can happen only on India's terms, not on Pakistan's terms. Because Pakistan doesn't have the heft to inflict any kind of defeat on India. It can only be a nuisance factor, or nuisance as in terrorism. So we're going to have to find a quick way of ending this.
So effectively, it doesn't benefit anyone on a global level other than China.
Other than China, that's right.